رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي العربي القرشي المكي المدني الهاشمي صاحب قاب قوسين محبوب رب المشرقين والمغربين، جد الحسن والحسين النبي الحرمين والإمام القبلتين والرسول الثقلين، الذين سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتخبين المنتجبين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين وحجته على الخلائق أجمعين. روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه، واللعنة الدائمة الباقية على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم وغاصب حقوقهم أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: يا علي أنت وشيعتك هم الفائزون. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم في موقع آخر: علي مع القرآن والقرآن مع علي، لن يفترقا حتى يرد علي الحوض. صلوات على محمد وعلى اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. For the honor and pleasure of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, another salawat ala Muhammad. And to hasten the reappearance of our awaited Savior, the loud salawat ala Muhammad. The word success is a word and is something that, regardless of what you believe, whether you believe or you don't believe, is something that all human beings, if you go out and do a survey of people living their lives, regardless of which religion they believe, which country they live in, which place they happen to come from, what socio-economic background they have, they're all striving for success. Every human being is looking for success. The definition of what success is might be different. So the definition, if I was to ask you, what do you think your definition of being successful is, it might be different to my definition of being successful, which might be different to another person's definition of being successful. But what is common amongst all of us is that we're all looking for success. And in order to get this success, in order to achieve this success, what do? We sacrifice the things that are nearest to us, that are dearest to us, that we get after a lot of effort, that we happen to possess after going through a lot of effort. But we're willing to sacrifice those things in order to achieve success. There are two, amongst other things, the two greatest examples of that is wealth, or our wealth and health. These two things are obtained with difficulty. If a person has got wealth, they have worked hard in order to get the wealth. In order to achieve success, they are willing to sacrifice some or all of this wealth so that they can be successful. And the same goes for health, because we know that if a person, it is a blessing for a person to be healthy, and if that person becomes ill or becomes unwell, regardless of how much they might spend, and people do spend, there's no guarantee of their health returning. But a person still sacrifices their health in order to get towards success. So it tells us that these things which come with difficulty, wealth and health, are readily sacrificed in order for a person to achieve success. This is how important success is to us. Whatever we might define to be success is a different discussion. But whatever we think is success, whatever we understand to be success, we are willing to sacrifice these things in order to achieve that success. From the worldly perspective, if a person, he will sacrifice some of his leisure time and free time as well in order to achieve that success. All the friends are going out, this guy is saying, I'm staying at home. Why are you staying at home? Why are you not going with your friends? I have an exam tomorrow. I need to become successful. And at every stage in a person's life, they are focused on this success. When you're at school, you want to be top of the class. When you're at university, you want to get first class honors. When you're at work, you want to get the promotion over the other person. In every single stage of a person's life, they want to be successful. And they are willing to sacrifice these things in order to achieve that success. But what is this success? This success for which we are willing to sacrifice these things, with this success which we are willing to sacrifice health and wealth and free time and all the other things that we would rather do, that we would get with difficulty, we're willing to sacrifice all of these things for a success which will last 60 years, 70 years, 80 years, 100 years. If somebody is lucky, they'll live for 100 years. No more than that. But yet a person is willing to sacrifice all these things for this limited success. This shows us the importance of success. One final example, and then I'll come to the actual discussion that I want to refer to today. What other proof do we need for the desirability of success? The fact whoever is successful in this life, in this world, we see that there are people who are jealous of them. Whoever is successful in whichever field, whichever area a person is successful, we see that there are certain people who are jealous of them. This jealousy is a proof that success is desirable. This jealousy is a proof That success is something that's desirable. The person is jealous because they wish that they had that as well. Have you ever heard in your whole life of a person being jealous of someone who's a failure? Someone who didn't achieve anything in their life, who was unsuccessful? No. Why? Because success is desirable within a human being, and to be a failure is not something desirable. To be successful is a desirable, innate within the human being, regardless of what they believe, regardless of where they come from, regardless of what background they have. Success is something that's innately desirable within the human being. And this is a limited success. This is a success which will only last us in this lifetime. And despite all of that, people become jealous. They go out in fits of rage and even kill people and hurt people because they are jealous of that person's success. This is all a success which will last for 60, 70, 80 years. But what about eternal success? What about the success which will last forever? This is the success which will only last for 60, 70, 80 years. Yet a person goes through all this effort in order to achieve that success. Because that success is innate within the human being. It's in the fitrah of the human being to achieve success. But what about that success which will last forever? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I know because I've created you with this desire to be successful. And therefore I've given you the solution of how to be successful in this life and in the next one. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يا علي أنت وشيعتك هم الفائزون. So the Holy Prophet of Islam said, Oh Ali, you and your Shia are the successful ones. You and your followers are the successful ones. If for the desirability of success in this life I go through all these efforts, then what about the success that is everlasting? What about the success which will last forever? What about the success which will be success in this life and in the next life? This is important because at this moment in time, the person, and in every time, but we're feeling it because we're living in this time. In reality, this is something that's happened in every time. But in this time, because we are living in this era, we feel this more closely. That for a person to say that they are a follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, that person is facing an existential threat. We live in a part of the world where we don't, alhamdulillah. But there's certainly people in certain parts of the world where that is not the case. Where they are facing an existential threat for calling themselves followers of Ahlul Bayt. For no crime other than the fact that a person says, I love Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. For that person faces an existential threat. A threat to their life, to their family, to their honor, to their dignity. Just for saying this. But it is important to remind ourselves, and this will be the theme of our discussions, hopefully until the end of the Holy Month. It's important to remind ourselves that this isn't something that we have to hide or be shy of or defensive of. Rasulullah is saying that this is success in this life and the next life. That means I shouldn't shy away from saying, I'm a follower of Muhammad. I shouldn't shy away from declaring my love for Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. In fact, I should say all of you should come towards this, because this is eternal success. And I haven't said this. This isn't coming from me. This isn't coming from an ordinary person. This is not coming from a scholar. This is coming from the Holy Prophet of Islam, whose kalima we all recite. That Holy Prophet of Islam is saying that the desire to be successful is innate within you. And I'm giving you the solution of how to get success in this life and the next. Recite salawat ala Muhammad. I'm giving you this solution of how to get success in this life and the next life. Now the second hadith which I've recited, of course, I'm just going to refer to it. As I say, as we go on, we will unpack various parts of both of these narrations. The other narration, in fact, this hadith, Holy Prophet of Islam, and this second hadith, which I also recited at the beginning, are both mentioned. They have very interesting. It's very interesting that they are mentioned in this particular book. The book is called Sawa'iq al-Muqratah by Ibn al-Hajar al-Asqalani, who wrote this book as a response to the followers of Ahlul Bayt. And it's interesting, therefore, that these two hadith, this hadith, "Oh Ali, you and your Shia are the successful ones," is mentioned in this book. And also, this hadith, the Holy Prophet of Islam says Ali is with the Quran and the Quran is with Ali. لَنْ يَفْتَرِقَ حَتَّى يَرِدَ عَلَيَّ الْحَوْض, and they will not separate until they reach me at the pool of Kawthar. I posit to you that amongst the miracles of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam and his fada'il and his merits is the fact that here is a book that's written in opposition to the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu salam, yet it's full of fada'il of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. There's nothing in this book except for fada'il of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. That it's written in opposition to the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, but yet the person writing the book is still forced to narrate the merits of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. The Holy Prophet of Islam in this narration says, Ali is with the Quran and the Quran is with Ali. And they will not separate. This word that's used in the Arabic, لَنْ يَفْتَرِقَ, is not they will not separate. No, there's no possibility of there ever being any imagination of their separation. They're inextricably linked to one another. Therefore, if a person sees the Quran being recited somewhere, but there's no mention of Amirul Mu'mineen, that means that person is not reciting the Quran. Because the Quran and Amirul Mu'mineen are not separated. If the Quran is being talked about, then no, that Quran is a deception. That Quran is like the Quran on the day of Siffin. That Quran is like the Quran on the day of Siffin when they brought out the Quran on lances. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam said, "This is a deception. I am the Quran in front of you. Don't be deceived by them. I am the Quran in front of you." And conversely, if there's mention of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu salam, if I'm really a follower of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, then that means I have to have a relationship with the Holy Quran. Because Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam is not separated from the Quran. I will be deceiving myself if I think that I'm talking about Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam and that will lead me to salvation or that will make me a follower of his if I don't have a relationship with the Holy Quran. And inshallah, as we go on, we will discuss all of these things in more detail. But for today, the key is that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is saying, is saying that this desire of success is innate within you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about what your desire to achieve success. And so we're giving you the solution to achieve success in this life and the next life. And that is adherence to Amirul Mu'mineen. That is adherence to Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Now a question might be asked here. Say, Ya Rasulullah, you said Ali and his Shia will be successful. And it's been narrated. This is I'm not here, inshallah, over the few nights that we're together. We're not taking part in a sectarian discussion. These are hadith which have been mentioned by scholars from all schools in the religion of Islam. And inshallah, till the end of our discussion, we will continue to mention those are hadith which have been mentioned by all the scholars in all the schools of the religion of Islam. So it's not a sectarian discussion. So we have to ask a question. Say, Ya Rasulullah, you mentioned that Ali and his Shia will be the successful ones. So why didn't you say that those who follow me and my Shia will be the successful ones? Why did you say Ali and his Shia will be the successful ones? Could have said that those who follow me and those who are my Shia are the successful ones. So Rasulullah, if we were to ask him, he might reply. He might say, well, why don't you ask Salman? Why don't you ask Salman? So if we ask Salman, what will Salman say? So Salman will say, maybe why Rasulullah didn't say me and my Shia, and why he said Ali and his Shia. This is because after Rasulullah passed away, everybody was reciting the kalima. Everybody was claiming to be a follower of the Holy Prophet. So we were confused, how do we recognize the believers and the hypocrites? This is a narration Salman is mentioned. Saying that after Rasulullah passed away, we wanted to find out who are the believers and who are the hypocrites. So we recall the hadith of the Holy Prophet of Islam. We recall the hadith of the Holy Prophet of Islam. What did the Holy Prophet say in this hadith? He said, "Oh Ali, nobody will love you illa mu'min, except that he will be a believer. And nobody will dislike you, nobody will hate you, except that that person will be a hypocrite. Nobody will love you except that that person will be a believer. Nobody will hate you except that that person will be a hypocrite." Furthermore, Rasulullah says in another narration, he says, "Ya Ali, if somebody who loved you was placed a sword on their neck and was told to stop loving you, then that person would not stop loving you. And if a person who hated you was given all the gold in the world in order to love you, that person still would not." So Salman says, after Rasulullah, we used to test people with the dhikr of Ali ibn Abi Talib. We used to test people by mentioning Ali ibn Abi Talib in their presence. If they smiled, we knew this person was a believer. And if they frowned, we knew this person was, even though they were reciting the kalima, we knew this person was a hypocrite. Because Rasulullah said, nobody will hate you except for that person will be a hypocrite. So Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, for this reason the Holy Prophet said, Ali is with the Quran. What is one of the characteristics of the Quran? One of the characteristics of the Quran is that it's called Furqan. There's a surah in the Quran called Furqan, and that one of the titles of the Quran is Al-Furqan, which means that which distinguishes between right and wrong. And Rasulullah says, Ya Ali anta Siddiqul Akbar wal Faruq al-Azam. You are the greatest truthful one and the one who distinguishes between right and wrong. For this, Rasulullah says Ali and his Shia are the successful ones, because after me there will be many people claiming to be my follower. They will recite my kalima. But if you want to know whether they're truthful in their claim, then see by testing them with the dhikr of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Testing them with the dhikr of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And why not? Why should a person who, when they look at this man's life, in addition to the fact that Rasulullah is saying that this is success in this life and the next life, but just looking at this person's life, when a non-Muslim looks at his life, the famous English historian Thomas Carlyle says, when I read through the life of this young man, one cannot but admire every single aspect of his life. In addition to the fact that he's giving us eternal success, just look at his life. Every moment of his life, every moment of his life, from the moment that he comes into this world to the moment he dies, every moment of his life. It is an outstanding life till the end of his life. And what is most outstanding is his concern for the believers at every stage in his life. Even if that means that he has to forego his rights, even if it means he has to accept torment and oppression in his life, if it means saving of the believers, then Amirul Mu'mineen will do it. Maybe be sacrificed 1,000 times on an imam like you, who's concerned more about me than he's concerned about himself. Today is the 18th day of the holy month of Ramadan. And it's mentioned that in the 40th year after Hijrah, when the moon of Ramadan was sighted, Amirul Mu'mineen used to refer to one of his companions, or to Imam Hassan, or to Imam Hussein, and every day he would ask them, what day of the month of Ramadan is it? Every day one of the companions, either Imam Hassan or Imam Hussein, would say, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, today is the first of Ramadan, today is the second of Ramadan, today is the third of Ramadan. It's mentioned that once half of the holy month of Ramadan had passed, then Amir al-Mu'mineen salam's state had changed. He was seen in a state that he had never been seen before. And then on the morning of the 18th of the month of Ramadan, he asked Imam Hassan alayhi salam. He said, "Oh my son, what day of the month of Ramadan is it?" Imam Hassan alayhi salam says, "Oh my father, today is the 18th of the month of Ramadan." And the Imam says, "Now the time towards going to the Creator has come close." It's mentioned, Allama al-Majlisi in Bahar al-Anwar mentions, it's very lengthy riwayat, about the 18th day of the month of Ramadan. It says that at the end of the 18th day of the month of Ramadan, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam came to the house of Sayyida Kulthum to break his fast. It was his habit to visit different houses of his children during the month of Ramadan in order to break his fast. On the 18th night of the month, 18th after the passing of the 18th day, and the breaking of fast of the 18th month day of Mahdi Ramadan, Amir al-Mu'mineen salam came to the house of Sayyidah Kulthum. When he came and he sat down for iftar, Sayyidah Kulthum brought some bread, some salt and some milk. The words of the narration state that Amir al-Mu'mineen stared hard at Kulthum. Of course, he had not come to the house of Kulthum for the first time. He stared at Kulthum and he said, Kulthum, have you ever seen your father eat two things at the same time? Have you ever seen your father eat two things at the same time? Even in martyrdom, Amir al-Mu'mineen is giving me an ethical lesson. I complain every day about the food that I get. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I've never eaten two things at the same time. I've never eaten two things at the same time. Kulthum wants to take the salt. He says, no. Take the milk. He breaks his fast with bread and salt. He has a few mouthfuls and he gets out. Kulthum narrates, same narration, that I saw my father walking up and down the courtyard of the house in a state that I've never seen him before. So I asked him, oh my father, what is it today that I've never seen you in this state before? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Kulthum, remember that I, Ali, am the man who fought the bravest of the Arabs at Badr and Uhud. I killed Amr ibn Abdud. I overpowered him not once but twice on the day of Khandaq. I killed Marhab and Antar and Harith on the day of Khaybar. I faced the enemies at Jamal and Siffin and Nahrawan. But today, Amir al-Mu'mineen is afraid because it's the day of the meeting of the Creator. Never in a moment in my life did I feel fear, but today I, Ali, am fearful. He says, Kulthum, remember that whatever is halal will have to be accounted for. And whatever is haram, there will be punishment for. And I, Ali, do not like to stand on the day of judgment for a long time giving my account. Allah. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam spends the 19th night of the holy month of Ramadan in Haidery. It's the first night of Al-Qadr. We're going to do the Amal tonight. When the morning of the 19th of the holy month of Ramadan is about to come about, it's not yet the time of Fajr. He arises and he wants to leave the house to go to the masjid. Those of you who have been for Ziyarat know that the house and the masjid are adjacent to one another. So 1 hour before the time of Fajr, he arises and he wants to go towards the masjid. And when he gets to the door of the house, he notices that the ducks which are outside the house, they are squealing and screaming. And some of the servants are coming close to silence them. He tells the servants, he says to them, don't silence them, because they are weeping on my departure. I'm leaving this house and I will not come back. Then he turns to Hassan Mushtaba alayhi salam and he says, oh my son Hassan, remember this as my final advice. As long as you can feed these animals, keep them in the house. The day that you think that you can't feed them, set them free. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them capability to find their own rizq. That was the Kufa of the 40th year after Hijrah, where Amirul Mu'mineen was so concerned about the hunger and thirst of animals. It will be Kufa only 2 decades later, where the family of Amirul Mu'mineen will be brought into this Kufa. And not only will nobody care for their hunger and thirst, but they will be presented as the prisoners in the court of Ibn Ziyad. ألا ولعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا الجنة قلبهم ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.
No say.